On today's episode of Phinside The NFL, are the Miami Dolphins ramping up negotiations with Tua Tagovailoa's camp to get an extension done sooner rather than later? We will talk about that. Are Jaelan Phillips and Bradley Chubb still a top edge duo in the NFL? Well, if you were to look at ESPN's latest edge rankings, you would probably think to yourself, no. We'll talk about that. Does Raheem Mostert have one of the friendliest deals league-wide based upon production? We will talk about all those things, plus a ton more. Got a lot to talk about on this Wednesday. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and as always, let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jaelan has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's going over the touchdown again. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. Hope everyone is having a fantastic middle of the week. It's hump day. Man, your boy had a massive chicken parmesan sandwich for lunch, and oh man, I feel like Cell when he went into self-destruction mode and he just bloated up into that whole big thing. It's ridiculous right now. Whew. I hope everyone, like I said, is having a fantastic day. We got a lot to talk about today, a bunch of different topics. You're probably wondering, hey, where's Richmond? Where's ball game? Well, Richmond, he got hit by that hurricane and his power's been out for like 2 days. So we'll come back with the finish line next week. And then Neil, just before I went live here, Neil won't be able to make it tomorrow because he's living La Vida Loca in Ocean City, Maryland. So no Fin Too Deep tomorrow, but I still got some things in the works. There's supposed to be an article coming out tomorrow by a writer friend of mine. And if it does come out tomorrow, we're going to see if we can maybe hop on and do a podcast tomorrow about it. So I'm not going to go too much further into depth because I don't know if this person wants it out there, but he's a big name who's dropped a couple big articles over the last couple of years, and I've had him on here before when he dropped one of those. So we'll see what's going Friday. I'll be doing my offensive preview for training camp, and attached to that will be prospect profiles of Jaelan Wright, Malik Washington, and of course Patrick Paul. There'll be all 22 attached to that, and as usual, prospect profiles. I'll give you background on the player, scouting report on the player, and how they fit the Miami Dolphins after being drafted. So, and then next week we'll be doing defense and special teams in one show, as well as prospect profiles of Chop Robinson, as well as Mo Kamara. So be out on the lookout for that, all right? So a lot of stuff still coming your way. Yeah, the chicken parm was bomb, but the wife warned me. She said, you're not even going to want dinner after you eat that thing. And sure as enough, I was like, halfway through, I was like, nah, I'm good. By the time I finished that thing, you had to roll me down the hallway. It was ridiculous. So appreciate all you coming through. As you do, please do me the favor. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. I don't know if anyone saw on X. I know it's, I guess, causing some controversy for people. Tyreek Hill, he named his top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. And people are taking, a man's opinion. People are rolling with it and taking real offense. He named Patrick Mahomes, Tua Tagovailoa, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott. And the one that's actually throwing everyone off is he put Baker Mayfield in his top 5. Listen, I'm not going to hate on it. I don't agree with it. I don't even have Baker in my top 15, I believe, if I go by top 16, if I believe. So, but hey, clearly, for a guy like Tyreek Hill, Lamar Jackson being the exception, accuracy and being able to throw the football is what matters to him. Hey, that's his decision. But I don't even know why people get like up in arms. Like, is this guy high? Bro, the guy plays professional football at the highest level possible. And I don't mean the NFL. I mean, he plays the game of football in the NFL at the highest level possible for his position. It's kind of like debate with a wall. The guy has his opinion. He has his opinion. And if anyone has a right to their opinion, it would definitely be Tyreek Hill. That said, I don't know if you guys have had a chance, but on Netflix, they did last year, they did that quarterback series. Well, now they have gone ahead and released Receiver, and it's following around multiple players like George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and a few others throughout last season. So go check that out if you have a chance and you're looking for something to watch tonight. I'm going to check it out after. I'll check it out after I'm done checking out Beverly Hills Cop 4 because I still have not had a chance to take that movie in. So I started it yesterday before I had my kids like baseball and stuff. Came home from the kids' baseball. And your boy crashed like a crash test dummy. It's out. So yeah, go check that out as well. All right. If you're a Beverly Hills Cop fan, you go check that out. Shout out to everyone who's already showing up in the chat right now. Appreciate all of you for coming through. Charles Hilton, Pro Special, Marino's Goat, Andrew Harris, Jason Keck, Ruckus, John Featherland, Timothy Washington, Kyle Almany. Who else we got here? Greg Sosa, Aladino Mass, Omar Brown. Let me make sure. No, Robert Thomason, Tom Santinello, Timothy Eason, Gray Bush. What's going on, Gray Bush? We'll never forget your name as long as you live. Shout out to Brittany in the chat. Go subscribe to Sideline T. Sam Peluso, Kurok 1972, Michael Desire, Jeffrey Ward, Ace, Diehards Fins fan, Russell Swan, SoFlo Soul, Finn Fella, Dean Smith, Troy Hicks, Chuck Fins Up, John Fiorino, OG Barry, Tony T, Dolphin Dawn, Nick Queck. Another Queck showed up. It's like Jason Keck, but Nick Queck. All the K-E-K 4-letter last names are showing up today. I love it. 99. Who else we got here? Ken Rosa. Sosa and Rosa in the chat. Kevin Neves, Brian Walters, Ernesto Guillen, South Florida Don. How you doing, Don? I hope you're doing well, my friend. JJ Tucker. There's Jason Keck. You never knows what time it is. Lord John Warfin. We have a Lord in the chat. Everyone say hi. Justin, starting dinner, and yes, Phinside The NFL is live. Yo, what are you cooking for the fam, my friend? Jason Stamps, Chase 1. Lord John Warfin. Kill me. Names kills me. The King, Dwight Woodson. Jeff Premont, Coach Ty. Onarin Alteron, Justin Vanderberg, Jeff Stoudemire, Phil Emon Aragon. Hey yo. Funny you say hey yo, because I dropped that in a chat today. And no one got it because Brittany and Jennifer were in the chat. Paulie King 305, Big Heck. What's going on, everyone? Hope y'all are having a fantastic. Michael Simmons, what's going on? Dexy Gaiman, hope y'all having a fantastic start to your day. Coke Master D, what's going on? Shout out to Sideline T. Sideline T just donated 10 memberships. Kurok 1972, Russell Swan, Coach Ty, Dolphin Don, Kevin Neves, Ernesto Guillen, Chase 1, Pro Special, Juan Tulsa, T. Louis 2, all benefactors. Appreciate you, Brittany, for spreading the love and extending and expanding the community. She says, I did not get it. She definitely didn't get it. Brittany isn't exactly a wrestling historian. I put that together. I don't think Jennifer is either. But I love him anyways. There you go. Bob Oliver, what's going on? How are you doing, sir? Thank y'all for coming through. 200 of you already in the chat. And we got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover tonight. D Hugga, what's going? Razor Ramon, buddy, RIP. RIP. Listen, let me tell you something about. All right, all you women watching right now, you want to learn something about men? I'll tell you this right now. If your man was born in like the 80s, you know, there's a good chance in the mid-90s when they were a kid, they were doing the Razor Ramon walk down the aisle in some way, shape, or form somewhere in their life, whether it's when they got out of the shower, whether they were alone in the house and they were walking down the hallway. I'm telling you, every kid in the 90s did the Razor Ramon walk at one point in their life. I mean, it is true. And I'm telling you, another little fact, the influence of Scott Hall. Any real man has done the toothpick toss in their life, which is a la Razor Ramon as well. All right? Any real man has done that. All right? I'm telling you. See, Sam says preach, Reason. He knows what's up. Rockus knows what's up. It's Hey Chico. He knows what up. See? I'm not lying. Don't say I'm lying, because I'm not. You know? What's funny is Hulk Hogan's whole thing was hulking up and da-da-da-da. But I guarantee you more kids threw the toothpick or did the Razor Ramon walk in their lives than they hulked up. You know what I mean? So just throwing that out there. Scott Hall, everlasting impact on the male. Oh, Jesus. Lord John Warfin prefers the Undertaker walk. You're a lord. I'm not surprised. Head down, looking at your feet. You know, you get to the kitchen with the lights out and you start raising your arms and the lights come on. Is that what happens? The bad guy, baby. The bad guy. Shout out to you, Paul Holland. I appreciate it. He was. And the best thing is he has openly admitted it was a Scarface ripoff. You know, I can't say Hulk is that dude, my guy. You know, he's pretty much a racist. That's pretty much came out, you know. So Ric Flair walk, Swerve. What's up, Wilfred? Hey yo, Kane was scary as a kid. Reason, brother, wrestling's real. Look at a lot of these guys' bodies as they get older, man. You know, it is what it is. So let's Val Venus, you would. Oh my god. I don't know, bro. He's been caught on tape. You know, like there's tape out there, dude. Like, you know, you've been caught on a phone call saying that stuff. So, give South Florida Don a follow on X at South Florida Arthur. He had to delete his South Florida X account. Just don't do that Vince McMahon walk. Holy. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, if I knew him. Yeah. Okay. It is what it is. Yeah, Billy Gunn is ripped. He's ripped. He might be bigger than Hulk Hogan was. It's crazy. Anyways. What's up, B Show? My cousin Kenny. Shout out to all you hopping in the chat right now. So let's get into this. We got a lot to go over. So let's start off with funny enough. All right. On Monday, we talked a little bit about Tua Tagovailoa. What's going on, Anthony? Hope you're doing well. We talked a little bit about Tua Tagovailoa, obviously, on Monday. And on Monday, what we went over is, the whole disrespect. Are the Dolphins disrespecting? Are they insulting Tua Tagovailoa? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? We went into all of that. And so later, after we were done streaming, video came out from ESPN. I'll play the clip here. Let's talk about this because I'm going to be completely honest with you. Well, I'll tell you after we play the clip. Let's play the clip.
Another team that's a contender.
Oh, let me take care of that. Give me 1 sec. All right, there we go. Knew I forgot to do something.
Another team that's a contender that also lost to the Chiefs in the playoffs last year, the Dolphins. They got a lot of questions of their own to deal with as their camp approaches. We bring in our NFL reporter, Jeff Darlington, to talk to us. He's in South Florida. All right, so Jeff, Miami's vets report on July 23rd. Tua Tagovailoa is entering the final year of his contract. They're trying to figure that out. What's the latest on what you're hearing about negotiations over there in South Beach?
Yeah, we've got a couple negotiations going on right now, Ryan, that we can discuss here, starting with Tua Tagovailoa, of course. That is the most pressing. That is the one that the team continues to try to get done with Tua. Now, the last time I was on air reporting about this, I had mentioned that we weren't quite to the point where market value had been reached in the eyes of Tua Tagovailoa to the point where they could reach a deal. And while I can't say that there's anything imminent in terms of a deal as we inch closer to training camp, I can at least tell you that there have been active negotiations since then. They continue to try to get this done with a very amicable approach. It does not feel like this is going sideways by any means. I still think we'll have to wait and see if it gets done before the season.
So there you go. He says we still got to wait for it to see if it gets done before the season. But some key things that Jeff Darlington said in that report are as follows. I can at least tell you that there's been active negotiations since the last time Darlington was on the air, and he's talking about, optimism and not being as optimistic as before, right? And the key word that he used that really stuck out to me was when he said they continue to try to get this done with a very amicable approach. Now, you're saying, okay, Reason, that's fantastic. Why does that matter? I'll tell you why that matters. This report came out the same day that Greg Cote article came out asking if the Dolphins were disrespecting and insulting Tua Tagovailoa. Now, I went on record and said, that's not really fair to assume because you don't know all the details. Unless you are his agency, unless you are to his family, you don't know all the details of what's truly going on at the negotiating table, behind the scenes, in that facility. You have no idea what's going on, right? You don't know what's being said. You don't know what the details, the sticking points are. You can guesstimate, and we can go off things we hear, right? And secondhand information. But to sit there and say they're disrespecting or insulting Tua, you don't know what they're being off. You don't know if Athletes First is being unreasonable. You have no idea. This Darlington report felt like a few things. One, it felt like something like get out there and tell them that we're working on this, that we're not just sitting around, sitting on our hands, et cetera, et cetera. But the amicable part feels like it was a PR move. It feels like this report from Jeff Darlington was in response to the article that came out. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. They watch. The Miami Dolphins have literal interns they hire to watch people on YouTube and report back to them. To watch what's being talked about on X daily. The Miami Dolphins watch. That's just a fact. I've known this since I came into this, in, October 2019. I've known this since November 2019. That they watch. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the reasons why I started Phinside The NFL and me and Ian branched away from the Tuesday night panel is because things we were hearing from people connected to the organization about what they thought about the platform we were on at the time doing the Tuesday night panel, and we were encouraged to break off. So, you know, they watch this. They watch everything. And the response that Greg Cote article was getting, probably did not sit well with them at all. It probably didn't sit very well with them that article was even put out there. I just find it very interesting that Greg Cote puts out an article talking about them insulting and disrespecting Tua. It becomes one of the hottest topics of conversation on Dolphins Twitter that day. And mere hours later, they got Jeff Darlington going out in front of a camera and saying they're taking an amicable approach. It's clearly a PR job. Now, I've said this about Darlington, and I've said this about Cam Wolfe, but I will talk about Darlington. Darlington is a guy you listen to. Why? Darlington is plugged into Tua's camp. Darlington is super plugged into the Dolphins organization. Just like Jeremy Fowler. When I go back to how Jeremy Fowler had the story about Tua skipping OTAs, and then 2 days later when we saw the response on Dolphins Twitter and Twitter in general, everyone poking holes in that theory. And then what happened? 48 hours, 72 hours later, the narrative flips to, oh, well, they offered a deal, but it just wasn't good enough. That's the same thing. Athletes First was watching the response that Jeremy Fowler's story was getting because they put it out there. Don't think that agencies or teams put out these narratives and then just, sit back, smoke the cigars. We've done our job. Day's over. It doesn't work like that. They put the narratives out there and then they watch how those narratives catch on. And that's what they're seeing. And that's what the Dolphins saw. They saw that narrative come out there and they got out there right quick to get out ahead of it. Now, how plugged is Jeff Darlington? Let me tell you this, okay? I've heard Jeff Darlington is the type, people get lost. I know people who have said, that when they tried to find the media room for the first time, they got lost and wandered around the building because they can't find the media room. I've been told Jeff Darlington literally wanders around the building at will. He has full access to everything. This is why I've always said the guys you should really listen to are Jeff Darlington and Cam Wolfe. Why? They're super plugged into the team, and they're plugged into Tua's camp as well. Now, another good thing that Darlington basically put out there is there's no reason to get in panic mode. There's nothing to panic about. He literally says negotiations haven't started. Negotiations have not started going sideways. I think Darlington and Cam Wolfe, if I heard one of those guys come out and say, you know what, negotiations, it's not going well, I would be worried. I would be worried. If one of those two guys came out and said it, I would be okay. Let's start taking this at face value. So, listen, I did a Patreon update 3 weeks ago, and I said, I was hearing this would get done by camp, blah, 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 blah. Then I just had a recent Patreon update that released a few days ago for channel members and Patreons only. Talked a lot about Tua in there, talked some Tyreek Hill in there and stuff. And the narrative I'm hearing now, steady, is that it'll get done by the season. And then that's what Darlington said too. Even Cam Wolfe and Darlington have kind of backed off of this will get done by camp and kind of turned into this will get done by the season. And it goes back to what Omar said when he was up here on the Content Creator Super Panel right? Because, Omar doesn't run from panels like other people do. You know what I mean? Afraid of getting eviscerated. Omar came up here and said there's basically 3 dates. The start of training camp, the first preseason game, and the time in between the end of training camp and the beginning of the regular season. Those are the 3 main dates. Now, that third date and that third time frame, remember, that's where Joe Burrow got his deal completed. Listen, Omar's reported it, and I've heard it, and you've all heard it over the years. We expect the Dolphins' best effort, the Dolphins' best tabled offer, if a deal is not worked out before or during camp, to come in between the end of camp and the beginning of the regular season. Now, will that offer be good enough? I mean, your guess is as good as mine. If that offer will be good enough. For sure, your guess is as good as mine. But here's the real question. If that offer isn't good enough for Tua's camp, how does this work out? If that offer gets... Because you might run into a problem where the Miami Dolphins field their best offer in that time frame, and then Tua's camp turns around and says, yeah, that ain't good enough. What are they going to do? You think the Miami Dolphins are going to go back and up their best offer? I think that's when you get into the sticky situation of the Dolphins might turn around and say, hey, that's the best we got for now. Take it or leave it. Play out this year. That's the reality of the situation, too. So, I mean, it's going to get very interesting. It's going to get very interesting. That's all I can really say. Now, the question for people is, okay, well, what if Tua does? How disruptive would it be? And Adam Beasley wrote this article today about this all. And this is what he said. He said, how disruptive would a Tua Tagovailoa training camp holdout be for the Miami Dolphins? Miami Dolphin fans want Tua Tagovailoa to become the next Dan Marino. They should be careful what they wish for. The fan base might not like it if Tua Tagovailoa emulates Dan the Man in one utterly disruptive way. The last time the Dolphins had a quarterback drama this major, Marino was a mere 24 years old. He held out for some 6 weeks of Miami's 1985 training camp, returning to the team just a week before the Dolphins' season opener, which they lost. Could the Dolphins have a reboot of a bad 80s drama 4 decades later? Veterans are set to report to camp in less than 2 weeks. And Tagovailoa, set to play under the 5th-year option of his rookie contract, still doesn't have a new deal. That has led to heightened speculation that Tagovailoa will take the dramatic step of holding out of camp, which no Dolphins veteran has done since the league and union modified the CBA to make camp boycotts largely cost prohibitive. The Dolphins would have no choice but to fine Tua Tagovailoa $50,000 for each day of camp and $1.3 million for each preseason game he misses. If Tagovailoa in 2024 would hold out as long as Marino did, he would incur fines in excess of $5 million. The damage to the Dolphins' Super Bowl hopes could be even costlier. A month-long, if not longer, holdout by QB1 just doesn't happen, particularly in today's NFL. Teams have great incentive to keep their quarterbacks happy, and quarterbacks, even playing under the franchise tag, understand the havoc an extended absence can wreak on a team's chances. So we're largely making informed guesses about how Tagovailoa holdout would work, the Dolphins included. I would have had an ulcer and a panic attack if I tried to forecast anything that comes to my plate on a daily basis, Mike McDaniel said last month when asked about Tagovailoa hypotheticals. I haven't extrapolated in that way. What we've been focused on is communicating with each other. The knowns are that Tua's representation and our front office are negotiating a contract. As a player, Tua, and myself as a coach, what should our focus be on? Right, wrong, or indifferent, we're going to be held accountable for the ultimate product. Whatever you say, whatever way you want to see it, the piper has to be paid, so to speak. So how can we make sure that we are delivering on what we're bound and determined is non-negotiable of developing this offseason? While NFL distractions are largely overrated, Tua's absence would be the storyline of camp, overshadowing a roster built to win now. Tagovailoa has yet to get a single rep of practice with Tyreek Hill, Jaelan, Odell Beckham Jr., and Jonnu Smith on the field at the same time. Practice is important for chemistry, and without it, the first month of the season would be ragged as the Dolphins fine-tune timing on the fly. During the holdout, Mike White and Skylar Thompson would presumably rotate as QB1 since they're competing to be QB2. Both will get the opportunity to prove they can operate the offense after seeing the field for a combined 53 snaps last year in 2023. What's more, camp starting without a signed contract extension would further alienate Tagovailoa, a prideful man who's admitted he struggles to compartmentalize. It might harden his negotiating position, making it harder for the Dolphins to eventually get a deal done. For people that talk about business is different than personal, sure, I can agree to some extent, Tagovailoa said last month. But who you are as a person, for what you do, business and personal, is who you are with how you do everything. That's how I see it. That's just how I look at it. And if not, if you can be two different people at once, hey, by all means, you can do that. But to me, that's just not how I am. Listen, I've talked about this. I don't think he's going to hold out. What I think is happening is I think he's going to hold in. And that still is going to disrupt this offense. That's still going to impact how they grow. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm pretty sure Mike McDaniel does not want to get involved in the middle of Chris Grier and Tua Tagovailoa. Because you got to think, and, I do know, there's a little bit of tension there naturally because of how negotiations have gone between Tua and Chris Grier. I mean, you can read it all over Tua's face, and you can hear it in his words. But Mike McDaniel is probably reading the room, seeing that there's tension between his star quarterback and his GM, and he says, if I pick Tua's side and I advocate for Tua, Grier's going to take that personally. If I sit there and advocate for Grier, for Tua to just take it so we can get moving here, Tua is probably going to take that personally. So Mike McDaniel, he's backing up. But I will tell you this. It's fine and dandy to be like that at the beginning of July and in June and in, May. That's fine. But I can see Mike McDaniel turning a corner, and I can see him during training camp going to Grier and said, listen, bud, you got to get this done. We've got expectations as a team. I've got expectations as a head coach. I don't need anything messing up or disrupting what I'm building here offensively. We went out and got Odell. We went out and traded up for the first time in the Chris Grier era for a running back in Jaelan Wright. We went out and got the next evolution that I kept telling y'all was coming to the offense last year, and then McDaniel said it himself. The next evolution was tight end. They went out and got Jonnu Smith. So what? You get all these shiny new weapons and toys only for you not to get your quarterback on the same page with them during camp? That's where I can see McDaniel stepping in and saying, yo, Chris, and kicking Chris in the ass and saying, you got to get this done, bud. You can't wait till the week before the regular season. I need him out there today. In fact, I needed him out there yesterday. That's where I can see Mike McDaniel caving and getting involved. Because from right now, from what I understand, he's staying out of it. But I can see him getting involved if this starts affecting, like, think about this. We know how detailed Mike McDaniel is. We know he's got OCD tendencies. We know he's got genius up here, and geniuses, you know, they're a little out there, okay? Knowing he's OCD, knowing he's detailed, knowing the expectations are on his shoulder for this year with this roster, do you really see him sitting back and being happy with having to put up with Skylar Thompson and Mike White running and operating his offenses day by day? I don't see that. Hurricane grind mode. He's still under contract, so we need to be practice with his team. No, we don't. He can show it. All he got to do is show up to practice, and they don't fine him. Did you not pay attention to OTAs? He participated in 0 11-11 work. All he's going to do is the 7-on-7 stuff. That's it. And the 1-on-1s and the 7-on-7 stuff. And then when the 11-11 stuff starts, especially when the pads come on, he's going to say, no, thank you. I've shown up. That's all I needed to do. I'm not going to risk injuring myself. Because another thing that enough people are not talking about. Buddy, what do you think Christian Wilkins did last year? And he was one of our defensive leaders. What do you think Christian Wilkins did last year? That's you guys grasping for straws. The other players who are already advocating for Tua to get paid right now and thinking he should get paid, you think they think any less of a leader because they would do the exact same thing? Christian Wilkins literally did that last year, and was one of our defensive leaders. Do you think the guys were looking at him in the locker room saying, yo, Christian, you're not being a good leader right now? No, everyone understood. And you know why they understand? And perfect segue to my point. The Dolphins want to put in protections for themselves if Tua gets hurt, correct? Tua wants to get paid and wants his money, so there's some guarantees if he does get hurt, correct? All players want that, not just Tua, all players. Go back to Connor Williams last year. Connor Williams is ready to come back, and Drew Rosenhaus shot down any chance of him coming back. Why? Because Connor Williams thought he had earned a contract to be one of the top paid centers in the NFL last offseason. The Dolphins did not give him the deal, and what happened? Connor got hurt, and his career almost got jeopardized. You don't think Tua and the players know that and saw that? You already have, and this goes back to Flores. This is a pre-McDaniel thing. You've already had homegrown talent looking at management funny since Flores was here about how they take care of their own players. Because besides Xavier Howard, who have they really taken care of? They asked Christian, we want to see more of a pass rush for you. What happened? Christian gave it to him. They let him walk. They asked Tua last offseason, we need you to stay healthy, and we need to see what you produce when you stay healthy. Stays healthy, leads the NFL in passing, and they still can't get a deal done. And that's the $1 million question, Justin. Because I've been telling all y'all for quite some time that Brandon Shore has influence in this than more people are giving it credit to. You guys have heard me talk about this. Brandon Shore and Ross set out their budget for 3 or 4 years down the line, and they stick to that budget. Did they budget out the quarterback market exploding like this and the market becoming the market? I don't know. No one's questioning Tua's leadership in that building. Tyreek, Jaelan, all your leaders are out here protesting for him to get paid. You know why? Because they're looking at a guy who's done everything that this franchise has asked of him and gotten better every year. And they're like, okay, Christian did that, didn't get paid. Now your quarterback's doing that and you're having a problem paying him. What about us smaller guys at less meaningful and impactful positions? What are you going to do when it's time for us to come around? And I'm telling you, the Connor Williams injury is playing a factor here too. I'm telling you right now. Tua is looking at this being like, man, I saw how that went when he wanted to get paid. And he wanted some injury protection, and what happened? I don't know. I think he holds in. I don't think he holds out. I think he'll participate in like 7-on-7s, the easy stuff, 1-on-1s. I do not see him participating in 11-11s until the money is put on the table. Because, I mean, that's probably what Connor Williams is wishing he did as he looks back right now. He's probably wishing he held out more than this because he would have got paid and he would have been taken care of. How far apart are they, Reason? Okay, so this is what I've done. So you know how I've done the exercise of, okay, take Burrow's money, divide it over the years of his new contract, works out to $29.3 million. Take Goff and Lawrence's new deals, and then this is the real money, the real guaranteed money, and you take their deals and you spread it over the new term of their contract, not any extra years they've already got added from their prior deal, whether it's rookie or whatever, just the new years on the new deal and the new money. You have Burrow at 29.3, and you have Goff and Lawrence at 28.4. You want my opinion? I think they're in like the 26 range. That's what I think. I think they're a little off, and the structure. I think they want a bump in the guaranteed money, and I think they want less incentive-based guaranteed money. If that makes sense, what I'm trying to say to you. So I think they want a little bit of a bump in the guaranteed money, and I think they want, on the fully guaranteed, a little less playtime incentive based. That's where I think we're at. Like, if there was a wide gap, you wouldn't have Darlington coming up here and saying things aren't going sideways. There's been active negotiations. I think we'd know by now if there was a wide gap. I think you're talking about a few million per year here. Knight donates $5, and he says, see, I'm not worried about the hold-in from Tua because I trust his work ethic. I could see him working outside with the guys. Yeah, I could too, for sure. 110%. The problem is it's easier to work with the receivers than it is to get the whole offensive line and then the defense. So you want to, because when the pads come on, you want to start as much as you can and as safely as you can. You want to simulate real game experience, right? And it's going to be hard to do that, So, anyways. Manti Te'o talked about Tua, and he said some interesting things about Tua, talking about how he likes to control the controllable, etc. Here, I'll play what Manti Te'o said for you guys.
Really, really good at controlling the things he can control, and just all the things that he can't control, just leaving it. I think we've seen that with him being able to, maneuver through the narrative that's been surrounding him for his career, right? Like you see how he's able to just avoid certain things and just always smile, and he's always singing, and he's just always being that playful guy, that loving guy, that leader, right? And if I'm watching all of these guys get signed and watching Trevor Lawrence get signed, that's actually, in my opinion, that gives me a lot of confidence. All of these guys are getting signed for that price point, and knowing what I mean to this team, knowing what's been signed, right? They just signed Odell Beckham. They already have a whole bunch of weapons with Waddle, and you got Tyreek. You have all of these weapons, so it's clear to me that they're trying to surround him with weapons. If I'm Tua, I'm chilling. Not chilling as far as physically chilling, but mentally, I'm not really worried about it. I'm not going to let that worry me, because I know, one, it's either going to come, or two, I'm going to put myself in a position by the way that I prepare for this next season, where it has to come. From the outside looking in, there could be a lot of anxiety. I mean, I would be a little anxious if there was like a $50 million a year type of deal coming away. But at the same time, I look at it the other way of like, I'm still waiting for a deal that could forever change the life of me, my parents, my kids, my kids' kids. Yeah. And I know it's coming. It's just a matter of time. If it's still not there yet, I know that if I come in prepared for training camp and I do what I'm supposed to do and I build off of the success that I was able to have last year, that I'll be great. I'll be in a good position. So I think he's, for the most part, he's going to be okay. I just sent him a text this past weekend just telling him I love him and I appreciate him. And, his response was just like Tua, love you, big bro. Send my love to the family. So it seems like he is in a good place, man.
So, Manti Te'o says a lot of logical things there. When you if you put yourself in Tua's shoes and you step back and you assess the situation, they're building this offense around you. They're not starting to build or make moves with going in another direction in mind. They're building this offense for you to run it and maintain it for now and in the future. So he does say a lot of logical stuff when you step back and you assess the situation as a whole. The Dolphins have been actively building that offense to continue, and he's right too. They've been actively building it to continue, the upward trajectory of Tua. And at the same sense, he's right. Either it comes now, that money comes now, or because the weapons they've given you and how they've built this offense, what does that do? That gives you faith, and that gives you opportunity to make sure you get it this year if they don't pay you. That's what that means. Like, okay, you're not going to pay me right now? Cool. Tell your agency, cut off talks with them. Tell them we won't come back to the table till either mid-season or at the end of the season. I'm going to go to work. And then he goes to work, has an even better year than last year. All of a sudden, now they're in a position where they have no choice but to come to the table and say, yeah, bro, we messed up. Here's your bag. Now, that's not the best case scenario for the franchise in terms of financially, because that's going to cost you more. Remember, I've said this ad nauseum. In 2022, because of the concussions, Tua was taken out of the MVP race when he was consistently involved in it before the concussions piled up. 2023, he was in the MVP race until week 17. The last 2 years, the Dolphins have gotten by injuries, whether it's to the quarterback or players on the team, by the skin of their teeth, with Tua not getting an MVP. If we finish off the Ravens and the Bills, and we win those 2 games, win the division, and win the top seed in the AFC, Tua's the MVP. He would have led the league in passing. We would have had the best record. He would have been named the MVP. That's how that would have went down. I mean, we've talked about this before. The MVP is a glorified quarterback trophy for the team with the best record in the toughest conference. That's basically what it is nowadays. So we've gotten by the skin of our teeth with him not getting the MVP. What happens if this is the year that he finishes that race off? Now what? Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. They let Wilkins bet on himself, and how'd that work out? Just saying. Worked out good for Christian, didn't work out good for the, financials of the Miami Dolphins organization, if we remember correctly. Right? I mean, that's just it. So, we'll see. listen, are Jaelan Phillips and Bradley Chubb not a top duo off the edge in the NFL? So, ESPN, they dropped their edge rankings. Now, they dropped their defensive tackle rankings yesterday, if anyone had a chance to check that out. Zach Seiler, he made the honorable mentions of that defensive tackle list. So, you know, we've all talked about how he's one of the more underrated, or how he's one of the most overlooked Dolphins and players in the NFL, and that might not be so much more now that he's made the honorable mentions, right? Now with Christian Wilkins, he was ranked 6th, and last year he was an honorable mention. Kind of crazy how Christian Wilkins, when he's a Dolphin, he's an honorable mention, leaves the Dolphins, and now he enters the top 10 just outside the top 6, but I digress. Here's the thing. Myles Garrett 1, TJ Watt 2, Micah Parsons 3, Nick Bosa 4, Max Crosby 5, Aiden Hutchinson 6, Danielle Hunter 7, Josh Hines Allen. I don't know, when did Josh Allen get the hyphen? Trey Hendrickson at 9, Brian Burns at 10. And then check this out. Jaelan Phillips has dropped even further on the honorable mentions. Even further. Because last year on these same rankings, he was, if you go by count honorable mentions, he was the first one outside of the honorable mentions. He was 11th. Now he's dropped to 14th. Bradley Chubb did get an honorable mention. But look at, they got Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter on here together, right? You know what I mean? They don't even have them as a top duo anymore. They got Will Anderson Jr. higher than Bradley Chubb. And you go by their rankings, Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson seem to be their, top duo. I don't know. Bradley Chubb was on fire last year. Until he got hurt. Maybe if he finishes the season out, he makes this. But, I mean, they've even got, if you go by, like, counting in order, Kayvon Thibodeau is ranked higher than Chubb. Highsmith is ranked higher than Chubb. So that means the Steelers and the Giants have a better pass rush duos in their mind. So do the Chargers with Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. He's the first receiving votes down here. I mean, first they disrespect Achane and they disrespect Mostert. Now we're out here. No love at all. Knight says Josh Allen changed his name 2 days ago. Wow. Okay. Did he take his wife's name or something? Like, where did the Hines come from? That's all I'm asking. That's what I want to know. Do your research, Knight, because I can't look it up right now. Tell me where the Hines came from. Continuing on here, Bleacher Report, they went ahead and they listed the most friendly contracts in the NFL, the 6 most team-friendly contracts in the NFL. And at number 6, they had Froholt from the Cardinals. At 5, Tavai from the Patriots. DJ Moore for the Bears at 4. Hollywood at 3 for Kansas City. And then number 2, they got Raheem Mostert. Contract average annual value, 4.13. Latest contract is 1 year, 4.13 million. Raheem Mostert has been a revelation for the Miami Dolphins. After a strong first year with the club in 2022, the veteran running back emerged as one of the NFL's very best at his position last season, yet didn't make the top 10 on ESPN's rankings. Go figure that out. Finishing the campaign with 1,012 rushing yards and a league-high 18 touchdowns on 209 carries. While Mostert has been instrumental in Miami's emergence as a contender, he's been vastly underpaid for those efforts. Despite just signing a new contract extension on the heels of some impressive 2023 contributions, including his first Pro Bowl nod in his 9th professional season, the 32-year-old still only ranks number 19 among running backs in terms of average annual value. Mostert banked a meager $3.8 million last year and didn't earn much of a raise on a new deal that would keep him in Miami through 2025. His 4.1 annual average places him behind players who have contributed far less in recent years, such as Miles Sanders and Devin Singletary. Mostert is commanding just half of what backs like DeAndre Swift and Joe Mixon are raking in on a yearly basis, and is well off the top-end contracts like McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. Mostert's advanced stage and history of injuries almost certainly worked against him in negotiations, as the Dolphins came out well ahead here. The club will clearly have the best running back contract in football if he can stay on the field and can continue contributing at a similar level over the next 2 years. And then number 1, they have Patrick Mahomes. See, that's where you screwed up over the next 2 years. I don't see that happening. 2 years when they just drafted Jaelan Wright and Achan's probably going to take that top job this year. That's a stretch. Maternal side name, so mom's maiden name possibly. Okay, gotcha. Huh. I mean, okay. Why not? Is what it is. It's like when Devon Achan, he had been called A-Chain his whole collegiate career, then all of a sudden turned around and said, no, it's A-Chan. Okay, why didn't you tell us a couple of years before, kid? Oh my God, classic. Well over 300 of you in the room. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Appreciate y'all coming through on today's episode. Listen, I want to thank all y'all for coming through. I want y'all to do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. You already know what time it is. All right. I got a couple things that we'll go over on the next show. If I'm not live tomorrow, which I'm going to try to be, then I will definitely be live on Friday for the preview of the offense heading into training camp. Plus, I'll have prospect profile videos of Patrick Ball, Jaelan Wright, Malik Washington, Dolphins After Dark this weekend. I'm working on some other things on the side. Hopefully some of those things come to fruition for all of y'all. Man, you already know what time it is. You already know what time it is. I'm just checking here. Hold on. B Show 58. Reason, were you high on Tristan Wirfs coming out, brother? If you go back and watch the Tuesday night panels, my first draft takes of 2019, where we needed to draft 3 players in the first round of the draft. We needed to draft Tristan Wirfs, we needed to draft Tua Tagovailoa, and we needed to draft Jonathan Taylor. When everyone was saying Andrew Thomas is the best tackle in this draft, I was out here in October 2019 talking about how no, Tristan Wirfs is the best player in this draft. Hands down. And sure enough here, and they did try to trade up. Why do you think the Bucks moved up one spot in the draft to try and get Wirfs? That's because we were banging on the door trying to trade up and get Wirfs. But they wanted an extra 3rd round pick thrown into the deal. We kind of balked at it. And there you go. That's how it ended. And then the Bucks swooped in. If they didn't get Tom Brady, not only did we get screwed in the tampering thing, but if they didn't get Tom Brady, they probably wouldn't have moved up for Wirfs, because Brady was stressing how much he wanted that offensive line improved. So we had over 330 join us on YouTube today. Again, I appreciate all of you for coming through. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Go subscribe to the Sideline T podcast. They just dropped part 2 with Omar this week. They've locked up Travis Wingfield. He'll be coming on soon. And then they have another guest they pretty much got a okay from, and they're just working on locking up. So you guys are going to enjoy that stuff. Make sure you check them out. The girls are quietly and quickly putting together the best female-driven Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet, so go show them some love, all right? As always, fins up all day, every day, and I'll catch all of you on the next one. Stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. Love all y'all, and I'll see y'all very, very soon.